I call the meeting of the San Juan Unified Board of Education to order. There are two closed session items on tonight's agenda. Student expulsions in two cases, Education Code Section 48918F, and personnel matters, Government Code Section 54957, non-reelection of probationary teacher, Education Code Section 44929.21B, and superintendent's evaluation. We do not have any speaker cards on the closed session agenda items. We will now move into closed session and return to open session at 6:30 p.m. I call the meeting of the San Juan Unified Board of Education back to order. The meeting is being audio and video recorded, and the recording may capture sounds and images of those attending this meeting. The recording will be posted on the district's website. Board meetings are being held in person in the board room at the district office, and the community is welcome to attend. The meeting may also be viewed on the district's YouTube channel where it's being live streamed. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Good evening and welcome. I'm Zima Creason, Board President. To my left is Ms. Pam Costa, Board Vice President. To her left is Mr. Saul Hernandez, Board Clerk. And to his left is Mr. Ben Avey, Ms. Paula Viesquez, and Ms. Tanya Krejcik, board members. To my right is Superintendent Melissa Bassinelli, and to her right is Board Administrative Assistant Stephanie Cunningham. Individuals who are attending the meeting in person and would like to offer public comment, we ask that you complete a speaker request card available at the staff table, and you will be called on at the appropriate time during the agenda. Please note that Board Bylaw 9323 limits visitor comments to 2 minutes per speaker with no more than 30 minutes per single topic. Time will be extended for any speaker who uses an interpreter. Please note that public comments, including your name, become part of the public record. We are now at item D, approval of the minutes. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes for May 23rd? Moved by Ms. Viesquez. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Costa. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, that was unanimous. We are now at item E1, recognitions. Tonight, we have one recognition, Mr. Orpalo.
Thank you, President Creason, Board Member Superintendent Bassinelli, and Ms. Cunningham. It gives me great pleasure this evening to recognize the Channel 10 Teacher of the Year, Jessica Campos. ABC Channel 10, in partnership with Schools First Credit Union, Esquire IMAX Theater, and Sacramento State's College of Education, announced Jessica Campos, who teaches students with visual impairments for the San Juan Unified School District, as a 2022-2023 Esquire IMAX Teacher of the Year. This prestigious award was presented at a special ceremony on May 11th, 2023. Ms. Campos has 18 years of teaching experience, 5 as an elementary school teacher and 13 years as a teacher for students with visual impairments. She works with schools throughout the San Juan Unified School District in providing instruction in Braille, low vision aids, and assistive technology to students in pre-K up to 22 years of age. When asked about being honored as the ABC Channel 10 Teacher of the Year, Ms. Campos talked about what being a teacher means to her. I think making connections with kids, meeting them where they're at, and helping them meet their potential. I just enjoy relationships with kids. I'm pleased tonight to acknowledge the many friends that are here and members of the special ed community, as well as Shannon Brown, the Executive Director of the San Juan Teachers Association. So all of you who are here for Jessica tonight, thank you for being here. And at this point, it gives me great pleasure to introduce to the board, Ms. Jessica Campos, the Teacher of the Year for Channel 10.
This is my 10th year working for San Juan Unified. In spring of 2012, I was at San Francisco State University, and I had not set my plans to come to Sacramento. I was taking a class with, come to find out, a teacher here in San Juan, and he said, "You need to come back to your hometown. You need to come back. You need to meet the team. We need to meet you." So that teacher was Lee Anderson, teacher for the visually impaired. And so I came out to Sacramento, Carmichael, and I met the team, which included Leslie Bailiff, Sue Mangus, who is retired, and Lee. And just their welcoming me and meeting me made me feel like this is where I belong. And I've enjoyed every moment of it. And I'm just so glad to be here in San Juan and to continue working with the students. Thank you.
Do we have any questions or comments from the board? Ms. Costa.
It was such an honor to be there on the night you received the award, and I was struck with how committed you are to students who are visually impaired. And the thing that I heard that really stuck with me is not only do you assist the children who are visually impaired, but you also provide such content knowledge for them that you really are a master teacher in terms of making sure that every child has what they need. And we can't ask for anything more than that. So job well done and congratulations on the award. Thank you very much.
Any other questions from the board? I just want to extend my congratulations as well. SJUSD is so lucky to have you, and the students are so lucky to have you. Thank you for all you do. Let's give her one more round of applause. Okay. We do not have any reports from staff this evening, so we are now at item E3, Board Appointed District Committees. Tonight, we have a report from the Chair of the Curriculum and Standards Committee, Ms. Mayel Thalen. Thalen, I'm sorry if I mispronounced that.
Good evening, President Creason, members of the board, Superintendent Bassanelli, and Ms. Cunningham. My name is Mayel Thalen, and I am before you tonight to represent the Curriculum Instructional Student Service Committee as the committee chair. The committee is to serve in an advisory capacity on matters pertaining to curriculum, standards, instructional, and student services. The 2022-2023 committee is a diverse group with members who represent different areas of San Juan Unified School District, including family members and former students and teachers. The bylaws require that we have 14 members, and as of May 2023, 9 of the 14 member seats are filled. We enthusiastically met in person after meeting on Zoom for a majority of the 2021-2022 committee year. And we welcome the chance to hold live in-person presentations and discussions this year. There were two main themes that really threaded the activities and focus of the 2022-2023 committee. And the first is clarity of committee roles, responsibilities, and the committee charge. So under the guidance of Nicole Cucurall, Director of Professional Learning and Innovation, the committee started off the year with the introduction of the committee charge and process. She presented a roadmap analogy to explain the committee review and discussion process as a map with 5 steps. The first step being destination, what we know as curriculum standards. The second being a map, otherwise known as instructional framework. The third is the vehicle, known as the core curriculum. How are we driving this? And then the fourth was other modes of transportation, the supports that are provided. And last but not least, the fifth part of the map is driver training, which we translate into professional learning. We reference the roadmap and analogy often as a committee because it provided clarity on how we are to function as an advisory board reviewing new curriculum and instructional adoptions. It really gave us a focus and framework to continue to move the work forward as an advisory committee. We often revisited the committee roles, responsibilities, and functions, and did this midway through the year when Trent Allen, Chief of Staff, presented the proposed curriculum standards bylaw revision to the committee in March. Mr. Allen presented the proposed bylaws and proposed updates, and he listened as the committee asked clarifying questions and shared our feedback and thoughts. One suggestion that came from the committee was to move the Curriculum Standards Instructional Student Service Committee annual report to the board from the November timeline to June. And here we are today. And we made that suggestion because we thought it would be more beneficial to present a comprehensive report that covered the entire committee year versus the first 2 meetings of the year. So we did get to revisit the bylaws once they were approved in April. And Mr. Allen presented the approved version and highlighted those updated sections. So again, we have that clarity on how we function as a committee and how we can do the work so we have informative discussions to share with staff. Now, we also participated in many presentations on new curriculum and instructional adoption, and we were able to engage in thoughtful discussions with a deep understanding of the committee role and function because of this work and understanding our role. Now, the second 2022-2023 committee theme I like to share with you is what I call the spirit of San Juan. And there was 2 pieces of how the spirit of San Juan influenced the work of the committee this year. One is community engagement, and the second is direct interaction with San Juan Unified School District staff. So community engagement was intentionally built into our committee structure, and that we met 2 times at district schools rather than meeting here in the boardroom as we traditionally do. And this was done as requested by the committee, and district staff were very responsive to this. They arranged for us to have meetings at Dyer Kelly Elementary and Del Campo High School. Each of the meetings on site were kicked off with presentations from school principals, vice principals, and/or staff. And what they were able to do for us is really highlight their unique programs that fit the student population and the student needs. These school presentations helped us as a committee to understand more clearly what curriculum and instruction looks like when as supported by administration, implemented by teachers, and experienced by students. We're going to continue this tradition into the next committee year and are looking forward to attending meetings at even more campuses. Now, the other piece that I mentioned was this direct interaction with school district staff. And so what was super exciting this year was new courses and instruction adoptions were presented by the teachers and staff that were deeply involved in the development. And we could see this and feel this in these in-person meetings because teachers and staff presented with such conviction and passion around their content areas. Now, all presentations deserve to be highlighted. They were all very insightful. Staff was open to robust discussion and exchange of ideas, but I like to lift up 2 in particular, just as an example of the work that was being done. The first presentation I like to lift up is just to acknowledge that a Amir Loma teacher presented his curriculum on mindfulness, helping oneself, helping others, new high school course. It was a new high school course. And the way that he was able to present it as the instructor that will build it and implement it was just incredibly insightful. And then the second presentation I just like to acknowledge to you is the technology service presentation by the Senior Director of Technology Services. He used live technology demonstrations. And to be honest, we were completely wowed to see what will be in the classrooms coming up. But these are just 2 of many presentations that were presented with enthusiasm that it was hard for us as a committee to not be inspired and want to learn more. I like to close by sharing with you our last experience at our last meeting of the year, which was in May. And we closed our committee year by having a discussion on ways to strengthen community engagement for upcoming curriculum adoption. Nicole Kukroll posed the question to the committee: what are additional strategies we can try to increase community engagement and involvement for the review of instructions for adoption? And the committee was excited to be asked for our viewpoints as family members, former students, and teachers. We jumped at the opportunity and put forth creative and diverse ideas for community engagement strategies and really had a full exchange with district staff where we were each contributing and knew from the way that staff was responding that they were listening. So with that, that's just a quick overview of what was occurring over those 10 meetings throughout the year. The committee is very dedicated to the work that we're doing and very committed to the students and staff of San Juan Unified. On behalf of all of us, we are excited to be able to serve in this way. So thank you, President Creason, members of the board, Superintendent Bastinelli, and Ms. Cunningham for your attention this evening. It's been an honor to share highlights of the 2022-2023 Curriculum Standards Instructional Student Service Committee with you. Thank you.
That was a fabulous report. Thank you so much. Comments, questions from the board? Ms. Krevchuk. Ms.
Well,
Phelan, would you like to come back? Okay.
I'd like to thank you for the report, and I just wanted to comment on one of the last things that you said, the brainstorm that you had around increasing community involvement. That's a direct response to some feedback I had during a presentation from Ms. Kukrow, so I just want to acknowledge that. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Other comments with Ms. Vasquez?
I just want to say thank you for the thorough report. I appreciate even just moving the timing, and it's a lot more helpful to sort of get the summary at the end than in November. So I agree that that's a great change to the protocol there. But also just want to acknowledge that these committees take a lot of work, having served, I think, probably on every single one at some point, either as a community member or as a board member. They take a lot of work and outside of already really busy schedules. So thank you for your leadership, and thank you as well to the committee publicly. I just wanted to take the opportunity to say thank you all very much for the commitment, and we look forward to continuing to receive reports and observe the work of the committee.
Thank you.
Mr. Avey?
Thank you so much for the report. I really appreciated how you got into the clarity of role. I think that's something that we've been working with all the committees this year and on the bylaws. And I think your committee or the Curriculum and Standards Committee is really exemplifying that ability to embrace that role, really understand what it is and dive in deep. And I think a lot of the committees that we have will benefit from that in the coming year as we kind of start the process, as I understand it, with some kind of setting the stage of what is the role of the committee, what is the process. And I think Curriculum and Standards is a good example of the benefit that can come from that. So thank you, especially on it's a heavy topic. I mean, those are not easy meetings. That's a lot of information to get through, a lot to process. So thank you for doing that and making recommendations to the board.
Thank you.
Any other comments, questions? I just want to say thank you for the report, and the timing makes a whole lot of sense. Like, instead of 2 meetings in, we get the whole year. And I love that you're rotating to the district schools so folks can not just live in here, but go out into the community and maybe get more public comment to the meetings when we're going into community. So I think that's great. And then also agree the outreach and engagement piece, which I know that's in your heart, to make sure that community is involved in the decisions that the committee is facing, and that they're really involved, and there really is that community voice. It just doesn't live with the committee appointees. So just really appreciate you and all you do. I know it's a heavy, heavy lift, and you have been doing such an amazing job for many, many years. So thank you, Co-Chair Thalen, for all that you do for kids every single day. Appreciate you.
Thank you, President Creason. Much appreciated.
Thanks. All right, so thanks again for the report. We do not have any reports from employee organizations or other district committees. So we are at item E6. Closed session expulsion actions. Mr. Hernandez.
Thank you, Madam President. The board voted unanimously to accept a hearing panel recommendation of 1 suspended expulsion in case number M58 and 1 expulsion in the case S48. Also, on a motion by Ms. Krepchek and seconded by Ms. Vasquez, the board voted unanimously to a non-reelect a probationary certificated employee ID number 584528. And lastly, the board has completed its evaluation of Superintendent Bassinelli for the period of January 23 through June 2023 on a motion by Ms. Krepchek and seconded by Ms. Costa. The board voted unanimously to give Superintendent Bassinelli a positive evaluation. Based on the positive evaluation, Superintendent Bassinelli will receive a 1-year extension of her employment contract to June 30th, 2027, as well as continue to receive the same benefit and welfare benefits and salary adjustments as other district administrators.
Thank you, Mr. Hernandez. We are now at item F, visitor comments. We do have speaker cards for general visitor comment. Comments are limited to 2 minutes. The clock on the screen counts down the time. Under the Ralph M. Brown Act, the board is not allowed to comment on items that are not on the agenda. So we're not ignoring your comments. We just can't respond to any individual comments. The superintendent can refer items to staff who can follow up with you. Ms. Rye, please facilitate public comment.
Of course. First up, we have Ben Haish, followed by Marcia Haish.
Hello, school board members. I am a student with disabilities. You just can't see my disabilities, but it shows up a lot in school and in daily life. School is hard and I often don't get the real help I need, and a lot because my voice and my mom's voice is not heard or seen as important in IEP meetings. This actually makes me really mad inside and sometimes even makes me struggle with my thoughts to hurt myself. Tonight, I know I have only 2 minutes, but I hope if I take longer because this is hard, you will respect me as a student with disabilities, that you let me take just a little longer. I asked my mom to do this. This is my choice. She gave up going to her class tonight to allow me to be here and support me. I wanted to read an email I sent to Stan, one of the district people at my IEP meeting. That is one of many who are disrespectful and don't listen. It took me a whole day with my disabilities to think and write it and be respectful when I was angry, and think you need to hear it too. Hi, I am Ben, the student you really don't really know, but make decisions about me and my IUP, and you often and others try to skip me in the meetings. I have a few questions. The first question is, do you have a federal law book to learn from it? Because if you do, you would know you are violating a lot of what is.
It's okay, it's time.
That does, sorry. I am very sorry, but that does conclude the public comment for 2 minutes.
So I told him I would come up and try to finish what he wanted to read. So.
Give us 1 second to start the clock and then turn on your microphone.
Okay. I am learning that myself. The problem is people think because I need an IEP is that I am not smart enough, but I am really smart. I can learn if someone teaches me the way I learn. And my mom tries to do that. We are both learning how to speak up with our voices for my IEP and learn why I have not made progress. I am learning it because maybe you don't know the federal law book as well and need to learn it, or maybe you just don't know, or maybe you do know, but maybe just don't care. Either way, it hurts me, and that makes me feel angry because I can learn. I am smart. I can learn. But that's also why that book was written, so everybody follows it, so I can get what I need. Another question is, why did you leave the meeting early? That was disrespectful to me. And you, and he named the person, are really disrespectful to me in my meetings when you don't listen or always ignore me or my needs or what I try to say. It makes me angry. It makes me feel like, what's the point? Why go to school? Because you are all so awful. You all treat me so awful by saying moving along because you don't want to talk about the truth of my needs. Why do you do this when you aren't kind to others, but you are an adult acting worse than me as a teenager? If I acted that way, I'd get in trouble in class. It takes me a lot of time and effort to speak and think about how to share. It's hard to write, but I have a lot of friends that help me learn to use my voice. I asked my mom if I'm allowed to send this email. She said yes. She asked me why, and I told her why, because I felt I needed to use my voice. Because you ignore me and what I need when you leave the meeting, which is disrespectful. And if I did that in class, I'd be in big trouble and maybe even get detention. So why, as an adult, do you think it's okay? And I'll stop there because I know we're restricted on time.
And next we have Veronica Pascual, followed by Tatiana Sanchez.
Mi nombre es Verónica.
My name is Veronica.
Soy padre de Yasmín. So I'm the mother of Yasmin.
Soy un líder con Sacramento AC.
I'm a leader with the Sacramento Act.
I'm very sorry to interrupt, but sir, can you come on the other side closer to the mic, please?
Yeah. Definitely.
Thank you so much.
Checking 1, 2, 3. Good.
Yeah.
There we go.
Construyendo el poder de nuestra comunidad. Construyendo poder en nuestra comunidad.
So building the power in our community.
A medida que avanzamos 2 años después de la pandemia,
So after 2 years of the pandemic, we were advancing.
queremos que todas las reuniones a nivel distrito se realicen en persona.
So we would like all the meetings in the district to be in person.
Si nuestras reuniones de distrito no son en persona, ¿cómo pueden nuestras escuelas ver la importancia de nuestra construcción de la comunidad?
So if these meetings are not being held in person or, in person, how is the district gonna know, the importance of the contribution that we can give to the community?
Entendemos que Zoom ha facilitado participación de los padres, por lo que fomentamos las opciones de híbridas.
So we understand that you put some sort of hybrid meetings.
Como comité de Sacramento GAC, valoramos la construcción de las relaciones como padres líderes.
So we do value, because of the Sacramento Act, the thing with the leadership of the parents.
Estamos comprometidos a invertir en los padres dentro de nuestras escuelas y hacer crecer nuestra comunidad.
So basically, we want to invest in the community, and make it grow as parents.
Le pedimos a nuestros miembros de nuestra junta que visiten sus sitios y celebren la participación de los padres.
So,
Juntos podemos definir y consideramos una participación auténtica de los padres.
so basically, we, give me 1 second. So we ask to the members of our team, please visit the sites and celebrate the participation of the families. Together, we can redefine what we consider a participation, an authentic participation.
Queremos crear unos futuros ciudadanos, buenos ciudadanos en la escuela, y la reunión es muy importante.
So we basically want to form good citizens, so these meetings are very important. Talking about the kids, right? Formation.
Thank you for the comment.
Yeah.
Thank you. Next, we have Tatiana Sanchez, followed by Janet Pacheco.
Hola, mi nombre es Tatiana. Mis hijos asisten a Bellavista High School y Pershing Elementary.
So hello, my name is Tatiana. My kids go to Bella Vista High School, Persian Elementary.
Mi comentario es, ¿qué nuevas ideas tienen para mejorar la participación de papás latinos en sus escuelas?
So my comment is what kind of new ideas you might have for the participation of the Latino families, of these kind of meetings.
Los papás del distrito deberían estar trabajando juntos con las escuelas para construir un plan que crezca la participación de papás.
So I guess the parents needs to be working together, to grow the community. I guess that's it.
Thank you. Next, we have Janet Pacheco, followed by Carolina Anguiano.
Buenas tardes.
Good afternoon.
Aprecio mucho que escuchen mis palabras.
I appreciate you listening to my words.
Mi nombre es perdón, de nuevo, Janet Pacheco. Mi hijo va en la High School de Miraloma.
So my name is Pacheco Janet. My son goes to Miraloma High School.
A mí me interesa en apoyar a nuestros jóvenes
So I do care about, backing up our young.
En estos últimos años ha habido muchos accidentes y hemos perdido a nuestros jóvenes.
So, these last years, we had many accidents and we lost many young people.
Ocupan más salud mental y orientación dentro de las escuelas.
So they need more mental health and inside and more orientation inside of the schools.
Ayuda con las drogas y el alcohol.
Some help with drugs and alcohol.
Nuestros jóvenes ocupan apoyo directo.
So basically, our kids, they need, direct help.
Y papás también tienen un lugar importante para tomar decisiones.
And the parents, they also have an important place to make or take decisions.
De cómo apoyar a nuestros jóvenes.
And of how to basically, back our children, give them support.
Sería todo.
So that's it.
Thank you. Next, we have Carolina Anguiano, followed by Brenda Gonzalez.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Carolina Anguiano. Tengo 2 hijas en Mariposa Elementary.
So good afternoon, Carolina Anguiano. I have 2 daughters in
Mariposa Elementary.
Mariposa Elementary.
Soy presidenta de DILAC a nivel distrital.
So I'm DLAC's president, district president.
Estoy muy interesada en que nuestras juntas sean en persona, porque yo he visto muy poca participación de los papás y me parece que si las juntas vuelven a la normalidad, a hacer otra vez en persona, tal vez podamos tener más apoyo de los padres de familia.
So, and I really believe that if we get to have these meetings, in person again, we will have more participation of the parents with the district.
Yo he abordado muchas veces a padres de familia en la comunidad y realmente hay bastantes que no saben de qué se trata esto y creo que es porque yo siento que también el distrito no ha puesto mucho de su parte en cuanto a este tema de los aprendices de inglés.
So basically, I've talked to or advocated for many parents, and they are not, in general, aware of all these kind of meetings, and the
Aprendices de inglés.
okay, for the English learners, kids.
Básicamente me gustaría eso, que nos apoyaran a que nuestras reuniones sean presenciales y yo creo que eso es fundamental para que haya más participación de parte de los padres de familia.
So I guess it's a must for the meetings to be in person. So by doing that, we're going to have more participations of the families, with the meetings.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Brenda Gonzalez, followed by Lucero Soto.
Buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Brenda González y mi hijo va a la escuela Pasadena.
Good afternoon, Brenda Gonzalez. My kid goes to Pasadena School.
Mi preocupación es los recursos para los niños de aprendices de inglés.
So my worry are the resources for the kids, English learners, kids.
En mi escuela me notificaron que el maestro de ELD va a reducir su tiempo.
So the school, has told me that the teacher that teaches English is going to diminish or reduce the hours.
y hay muchos estudiantes que ocupan ese desarrollo.
And there's many students that actually needs those services.
¿Qué va a hacer el distrito para seguir apoyando a nuestros niños del ELD?
So what is the district going to do about regarding that matters, that giving support to the kids with ELD?
Gracias. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Next, we have Lucero Soto.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, board. My name is Lucero Soto, community organizer with Sacramento ACT. Sacramento ACT is a multi-faith-based organization who works creating relationships with members of our community and our congregations to identify what problems impact our community and together bring solutions for our community. Sacramento ACT believes and knows that the people closest to the pain have the solutions to their problems. And I am here in relationship and supporting the parents that spoke behind me in hopes that we together come up with a better plan on how to increase parent engagement. I would like to ask, as a parent myself, I've talked with my principal at my school, what is their plan for parent engagement? And we're here as an organization and as a committee of San Juan parents that represent schools, Mariposa, Bella Vista, Kingswood, Mira Loma, Oakview, all over the place. We have parents that are ready to support their sites and better support the parent engagement. As we saw today, this was the first time of many of our parents to even come to a board meeting to show the commitment that they have in better increasing parent engagement. We understand that since the pandemic, hybrid is an option that's very flexible to some of our parents, but it is not easy to construct real authentic relationships. We want parents to see themselves as decision makers because parents here have power. And we are here as a committee and as an organization to support and use our expertise in organizing our community to have schools that reflect the needs of our families. Thank you.
And that was our final public comment.
Thank you so much for all of the comments. We are at item G, consent calendar. Do any board members wish to remove any items from the consent calendar? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve items G1 through G11?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Hernandez. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Costa. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, that was unanimous. We are at item I1, local control and accountability plan, Ms. Slavinsky.
Good evening, President Creason, board members, Superintendent Bassanelli, and Ms. Cunningham. It's my pleasure to introduce the Local Control Accountability Plan item for this evening. As you know, the 2021-24 LCAP is a three-year plan that supports the continuous improvement of student performance within the 8 state priorities with an emphasis on English learner, low income, and foster youth students. The LCAP is updated yearly based on a review of multiple sources of data that includes input gathered from consulting with our educational partners, state and local data, practitioner experience, and research. Prior to adopting the LCAP, Education Code requires that a public hearing of the governing board is held to solicit recommendations and comments from the public regarding actions and expenditures included in the plan. Additionally, the adoption of the LCAP and adoption of the district budget must be board approved at the same meeting. And now I'd like to introduce Dr. John Tornatori, our Director of Continuous Improvement in LCAP, who is going to provide a more detailed report.
All right, good evening, President Creason, members of the board, Superintendent Bassanelli, and Ms. Cunningham. This evening, we are here to present the San Juan Unified School District's Local Control and Accountability Plan Annual Update. So this evening, we will be providing the board with an overview of the attachments in your board packet, an LCAP overview that will include the requirements associated with adopting the LCAP, educational partner engagement, and the data that helped inform the LCAP. Followed by an update on LCAP goals and actions, as well as a budget overview. And finally, how the LCAP PAC was engaged in the development of the LCAP. So in your board packet, there are 6 attachments. Attachment A is a copy of the board presentation. Attachment B is a copy of the LCAP. Attachment C is an infographic that provides an overview of some of the key sections of the LCAP. Attachment D is an overview of our educational partner engagement strategy, as well as the overarching themes that emerged by goal area and by partner group. Attachment E is a crosswalk that shows where our educational partner themes map onto our LCAP actions. And then lastly, attachment F are the superintendent responses to comments from the LCAP PAC and DLAC, who had an opportunity to review the plan and provide comment ahead of this evening's meeting. So I would like to now begin by providing an overview of the LCAP. The LCAP is a 3-year plan that focuses on equity and continuous improvement, addresses the 8 state priorities, describes how services are provided to improve the performance of our English learner, low-income and foster youth students, as well as the performance of all students in the state priority areas using LCFF dollars. And it's developed with and includes the perspectives and insights of our educational partners. In June of 2021, the board approved and adopted our 2021-24 LCAP. With the LCAP being a 3-year plan, this means that we just completed year 2 of the 3-year cycle. And this evening, we will be presenting our 23-24 LCAP, which is our plan for year 3. So to ensure that the core principles of the LCAP are met, Education Code requires steps for districts to take prior to adopting the LCAP. And these steps include consulting with our educational partners, presenting the plan to the public, LCAP PAC and DLAC for review and comment, and then presenting the plan at a public hearing of the governing board for adoption. To date, we have completed all the LCAP adoption requirements, except for presenting the local indicator data and bringing the LCAP to the board for adoption, which is scheduled for the next board meeting on June 27th, and then presenting the SIPSIS to the board, which is scheduled for August 8th. So San Juan is committed to ensuring that the voices of our students, staff, families, and community members are lifted into the planning, the implementation, and reflection process for how students are engaged in the learning. Listed here are the 65 educational partner groups that include students, families, staff and labor groups, and community partners that were engaged in the development of the LCAP and reflect San Juan's diverse community. Additionally, compared to last year, we increased the number of educational partners from 44 to 65, and we have engaged over 2,500 participants. As a part of San Juan's continuous improvement efforts, we engaged multiple educational partner groups using various outreach and communication strategies in order to, 1, differentiate our approach, but also to maximize participation, especially for our historically underrepresented students and families. So this included thought exchanges, listening sessions, focus groups and surveys, meeting with partners in a variety of settings and capturing their thinking using a variety of methods, and then communicating these opportunities with our educational partners in a variety of ways. So we then reviewed the educational partner input for common themes within and across our educational partner groups. And upon reviewing the input, several key themes emerged across all 4 goals to address students' academic, social, emotional, and mental health needs. This included inclusive and culturally responsive textbooks, materials, stories, celebrations, and programs, training to address fighting, bullying, racism, harassment, drug use, and discrimination on campus, campus supervision to increase safety, security, and relationship building, increasing staff diversity, recruitment, and retention, providing supports and resources for access to food, shelter, childcare, clothing, transportation, increasing mental health and wellness supports for staff and students, and then increasing access to programs such as tutoring, credit recovery, career technical education, summer before and after school programs. So in addition to incorporating the diverse perspectives and insights of our educational partners, We also considered the 8 state priority areas, state and local indicators, and the LCAP metrics in the planning of the LCAP. So collectively, we use this information to revise existing actions, develop new actions, and target funds strategically to reflect the voice and needs of our entire San Juan community, not the voice of 1 or 2 groups. And you can see this reflected in the following 2 slides, which show examples of where our educational partner key themes are reflected in our LCAP actions. And so we believe that the actions in the LCAP will lead to improved outcomes, experiences, and access to opportunities for students because the actions were planned with our priority student groups in mind first, and based on multiple sources of quantitative and qualitative data that included input gathered from our educational partners, state and local indicators, practitioner experience, and research. Additionally, many of these actions will be provided district-wide to maximize the impact of these actions throughout the district. So in our 21-24 LCAP was designed around 4 goals that target specific areas of our work. And so when you look a little deeper into the document, you will see that for each goal, there are metrics and actions that target specific areas of our work. And this year, an additional 5th goal has been added, which I will share in more detail momentarily. But what I would like to do first is share and highlight a few notable changes to our goals and actions this year. So when looking at our goals and actions, a few notable changes and adjustments we are making to our LCAP include increasing funding by $718,964 to expand family and community engagement by adding 2 bilingual communication specialists, a 2-way text messaging vendor, summer opportunities, and additional support for FaceMobile. We are increasing funding by $534,204 to expand supports for English learners through additional bilingual instructional assistance and increasing existing staff hours. We're increasing funding by $330,000 to increase access to vision screening at 7 high-density schools, and then expanding our Safe School Ambassadors and Safe School Buddies programs. We're increasing funding by $3,462,186 for additional staff to improve safety, security, supervision, and relationships with students. Increasing funding by $282,000 to expand post-secondary opportunities and exposure, such as dual enrollment opportunities and equal opportunities school partnership. And we are increasing funding by $500,000 to expand summer opportunities and enrichment for students by adding additional camp invention locations. So differentiated assistance is provided to assist districts in improving outcomes for student groups who have performed at the lowest level for multiple years on the California School Dashboard Indicators. San Juan Unified met the criteria for differentiated assistance and is required to include an additional LCAP goal to outline support for our foster youth, homeless youth, and students with disabilities. This goal includes both new and existing actions, metrics, and expenditures. And new actions, metrics, and expenditures were established using a continuous improvement process that included analyzing data, conducting a causal analysis, developing actions, and identifying data to monitor progress. As a result of this process, San Juan believes that the actions included in this goal will improve the performance of our foster youth, homeless youth, and students with disabilities as measured by the California School Dashboard Performance Indicators. So next, I would like to share with you our 2023-24 budget by providing an overview of our projected revenue and expenditures. This first chart shows the total revenue San Juan expects to receive in the coming year from all of our sources. School districts receive funding from different sources, including state funds under the local control funding formula known as LCFF, other state funds, local funds, and federal funds. LCFF funds include a base level of funding as well as extra funding called supplemental and concentration grants based on the enrollment of low-income, English learner, and foster youth students. The total revenue projected for San Juan is $662,628,109, of which $455,071,725 is LCFF, and $51,253,947 is generated based on the enrollment of our low-income, English learner, and foster youth students. A second chart provides an overview of how much San Juan plans to spend for the 23-24 school year. And how much of our total general fund expenditures is tied to the planned actions and services in the LCAP? San Juan plans to spend $662,628,109 for the 23-24 school year. And of that amount, $381,483,021 is tied to actions and services in the LCAP. Examples of the type of budgeted expenditures that are not included in the LCAP, but are integral to the district's ability to serve students and families include district and school general operating and housekeeping expenses, routine repair and maintenance, insurance, transportation, instructional materials and resources, special education, and other certificated and classified employee salaries and benefits. So when comparing the total projected revenue of $662,628,109 from the previous slide to the total budgeted general fund expenditures of $654,405,337 shown here, there's a difference of $8,222,772. This fund balance represents reserves for committed funds and additional concentration grant funding. Finally, in addition to representing one of our educational partner groups that provides input to help inform the LCAP PAC has additional responsibilities in the LCAP process, which are noted in Education Code and in our committee bylaws. In Education Code, this includes presenting the local control and accountability plan to the Parent Advisory Committee for review and comment, and submitting comments to the superintendent, which occurred on May 25th, and the superintendent responding and writing to the comments received from the Parent Advisory Committee, which occurred on June 1st. In the LCAP bylaws, this includes providing perspectives and insights regarding our LCAP educational partner engagement strategy and reviewing educational partner key themes to identify shared areas of interest within and across groups as they relate to supporting our English learner, low-income, and foster youth students. I would also like to provide an overview of the co-planning process that was used to create our LCAP PAC meeting agendas. Prior to each LCAP PAC meeting, planning meetings were held with our PAC chairs. A typical planning meeting included time for us to reflect on the previous meeting, make adjustments based on what we learned, address questions and concerns, and discuss agenda items. And then finally listed here are the dates of our LCAP PAC meetings beginning in August of 2022, along with the LCAP related agenda items that included collecting input regarding the bylaws and educational partner engagement strategy, reviewing educational partner input to identify shared areas of interest within and across our partner groups with a focus on our English learner, low income, and foster youth students, providing LCAP and LCAP PAC training for new committee members, reviewing the draft LCAP, and then providing comments to the superintendent regarding the LCAP. Additionally, as a co-planning team, we were purposeful in creating activities that allowed PAC members to engage in discussion, ask questions, review data, provide input, and share a variety of perspectives and insights regarding matters pertaining to the LCAP. All of which allowed us to create the plan that is being presented to you this evening that reflects the voice and needs of our entire San Juan community. So President Creason, this concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions from the board. Thank you.
Thank you. I declare the topic of the Local Control and Accountability Plan a public hearing, and it is now open for public comment. There being no public comments, I declare the public hearing closed. Do any board members have comments or questions? Mr. Aiden.
We're jostling over who goes first. 381 million. I wasn't a math major, but that's about half our budget, district budget. Does that sound about right? Close to that. I think a lot of people would be pretty surprised to know that half of the district budget comes through the LCAP process. So it's a pretty influential process. And I think it's, I was pleased to see the additional outreach that we saw within that process, additional community engagement. I think that's good in informing process. I also want to say congratulations. I know in the past I've called out where we were performing statewide. And I think I was happy to see that for English language proficiency, we moved above the state average. So congratulations on that. I was also pleased to see the improvements on chronic absenteeism. Again, we haven't seen the numbers shift, but I think you guys saw some indicators in there that we think that it's going to improve. I think we also all saw in there that math and English, we still have some room to grow. I think for me, what stood out the most was connected school community. I think it was goal number 1. I may have said that incorrectly. I think that's an area I see as room for growth. I see a lot of opportunity for us to grow. I think we just had some members of community speaking directly to that, and they had some ideas. I think the one thing that I've noticed, and even in the last LCAP PAC meeting that I attended, I think there's this gap between the SPSA and the LCAP. I don't think the community truly understands how the two come together. I say that as a former site council member that went through the training where you trained me on exactly that. I didn't connect the two. And in talking to other people, I don't think they connect the two. I don't think they understand the relationship between those. I think one thing that I saw in there was that for the LCAP PAC, it was a thought exchange, which was great. I thought that the site councils provide great feedback on the thought exchange. I think doing listening sessions with maybe we select a few site councils from, high need schools, but I think that may foster some of the community connectedness. Because I do see that throughout. That was one area in a lot of the groups. We just weren't doing as well as I think that we would want to. So I think that was my big takeaway from it, is how do we close those gaps? Because honestly, when we close those gaps, I think that's going to support improvements in math, improve results in reading as we get families and communities more engaged. So thank you very much. Oh, and just say thank you. This is a huge report, a huge amount of work. I really appreciate it. And attending that last meeting was very helpful, and just seeing that communication. And honestly, just the recall memory that you were able to use in referencing specific goals to specific actions and results. It was quite impressive. So thank you.
I appreciate it. I'm just going to take this moment then also to thank Laura Mulder and then Darren Campbell and Christy Blanford, who really are a big part of putting this plan together. So thank you for sharing that.
Any other comments, questions? Ms. Costa.
Thank you for the report. It was outstanding, and I spent a lot of time with it. I think for me, when I looked at the educational partner engagement, and it spanned from pages 131 to 155, and the number of meetings that were held, sometimes with only 4 people there or 5 people there. And I think what many members of the public don't realize is that's still staff member time to sit there, whether you're dealing with 1 person, 4 people, or 50 people, and facilitate conversations and get the ideas. I was lucky enough to be able to sit through that at Curriculum and Standards and listen to the community comments. And it was really interesting to hear the ideas that were expressed at that individual meeting. And as I looked at the notes that you gathered from all of the different groups, it really, I think, painted a great picture of the thinking across the district. So thank you to all the staff members. And I know especially to you who did so many of those meetings. Thank you for gathering that input. It was very useful, and I think it made the LCAP that much better. So thank you so much.
Ms. Krevchuk?
I was really hoping that Ms. Vasquez was going to go before me, because she typically says what I want to say, but better. So I was going to try to do that against her today, but it didn't work. So I have a few comments. I have some questions, and I have some suggestions. First, John, I'd just like to thank you. I know how much work this is. I totally echo Mr. Avey's comments. Every conversation that you and I had, I don't know how you have this information at the top of your head and just at your fingertips. It's a lot of data. So I'm constantly impressed by you just knowing this like the back of your hand. I've been using a lot of idioms. Sorry, I'll try to just stick to the clear stuff. I just truly appreciate it. I'm very impressed with you, and I'm impressed by the amount of work that has gone into this. So thank you. There were a few things here that I processed after conversation with you. So feel free to say you need to reference it later and we can discuss it. I would like to bring it up today, just so my thoughts are voiced and maybe that spurs other ideas or thoughts. And then just so the public is aware. So there's a couple of things that we discussed earlier and that are just disappointing in terms of academics. And one of those for me was under goal 4, clear pathways, the preparation level of our students. It's on page 58, if you want to reference it. And this is still my comment section, so you don't really have to comment on this. And particularly, actually, it's not on page 58. I lied. I wrote down the wrong question or goal 4. Excuse me, page 61. So 60 on 61. So this has to do with college and career readiness and the indicator. We place a prepared level on students and it's pretty low, particularly for English learners. And as I kind of have a bias for English learners, so as I flipped through this, I was particularly paying attention to that because they had such just low success rates and things. And under goal 3 for CASP and iReady on page 49, some of those rates were really low, 6.37 as compared to 46 for the all. That was the first year, 12% as compared to 66, 7% as compared to 42. So where I'm going with this, especially after hearing some of the comments today, is that I really would like to invest more into English learners and some of the strategies that we have around how we work with this community. And a few months ago, someone presented about the letters curriculum and how successful that was. And I had asked, well, why don't we mandate this for all schools? And I still am perplexed why we can't mandate. I've had numerous explanations, but I still am perplexed why when something works really well, we can't just make sure that we continue to do that. So these comments lead up to the suggestion. And on your slide, it was the one with all the community groups. So slide 6. When I looked at it, and I was really impressed, John, the work that it took to do all of that. I've done work like that before. It's incredibly intensive, and I so appreciate everything that you've done. What I would like to suggest that we do is include other groups. So under community partners, if you look at the groups that we engaged with, and now I understand that it's a relationship, so they actually have to agree to it. So I'm not holding you responsible to this. I'm just suggesting for the future that there are other groups available out there within English learners, foster youth, or McKinney-Vento that are available for us to include when under education partners. Of all of them, equity and community collaborative, there's 11 total there. And then there's 7 combined for English learner, foster youth, and McKinney-Vento. I worked in social services, so I could name 11 groups right now that work with foster youth. And I don't know, maybe you reached out to them and they didn't want to work with us, but within the Hispanic community or within the Ukrainian community, there's other groups there, because if they don't have a spot at the table, they can't inform the plan. They can't give us suggestions for what we do. And therefore we end up having a plan that's skewed to the participants because we're collecting their collective thoughts and being responsive to that. So as an English learner or as a former English learner, those are my suggestions that we just do it. And I know, John, I know you tried, but I'm kind of putting it out there into the universe to say at San Juan collectively, we can do better about engaging these partners. And so I want it kind of on the record. And then my last comment will be, I was pretty surprised, and you can share with me if I missed it somewhere, that I didn't see anything about drug and alcohol in terms of prevention and any of the safety or even social, emotional, any of that kind of stuff. I didn't see partners that we engage or any strategies or actions. Did I miss them? Do we have anything for that?
We do. So action 2.2, prevention services.
Yeah, I looked at that.
Yes, it focuses on substance abuse prevention.
Uh-huh.
So that would include programs such as Teen Intervene, Baltvin's Life Skills, Friday Night Live. We also do bullying prevention, which includes Second Step, peer mediators, safe school ambassadors, safe school bud. And so those are just a few examples on that piece. And then on the social emotional piece, that would be action 2.1 with our MTSS work.
Thanks. So then I guess I'll say that I am surprised that it's not a huge dollar amount. And then you also added 330,000 for vision screening, and which I think is great. But in terms, compared to what we're up against today and with fentanyl and just some of the other, I think, more dangerous and harmful things, I think people can get vision screening elsewhere. If it's, where should we apply our money towards in terms of prevention and safety? I would like to see more substance abuse prevention programs. And then since I'm talking about things I'd like to see, I also would like to see something about screens. So I have been studying and listening to a lot more research on how screens impact our kids. And there are even some school districts that have banned phones. They have like a policy where they lock up the phones because of the implications that they have, not just on, we've learned already about addictions, but also on the physical and mental health of children in particular, because their brain is developing. And that also impacts their impulse control and their emotional stability and regulation. So I don't know how this works, if I can just offer that, but I would like to offer that for just food for thought of how we can include that into our prevention and kind of safety plans, because there's a lot around that we can do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Viescas.
Thank you. And thank you for all 106 pages of the report. That does not include the appendices and supporting documents, just so folks know. But there is a lot here to go through, and it's a big lift. It's already been noted, kind of the scale of what we're talking about in terms of funding, particularly by my colleague, Mr. Avey. So I'm not going to repeat that, but just say I agree. It's a big amount. I want to focus my comments just a little bit on the action 1 piece or goal 1 piece. And the goal 1 piece is connected schools. And as I was going through the report, there's a couple of different areas where, particularly on surveys, where we kind of have it distinguished by student feedback, staff feedback, and parent feedback. And this piece in particular around participation, engagement, and motivation, and as well as kind of high expectations and caring relationships. So I'm looking at pages 23 and 24 of the report, 35 and 36 of our board packet for my colleagues. This is just the discrepancy, kind of what the students are reporting out versus how the adults are perceiving the educational experiences. There's a wide gap there. And I just think it's worth noting. And I think the notable changes to actions here that are listed here in particular, bilingual communications specialists, additional staff, alternative credit recovery opportunities, additional administrators. I think these are all part of feeling connected to a school. Feeling connected to a school is feeling a connection with people, whether it's your teacher, whether it's a classified employee, whether it's the librarian, whoever. Students can feel connected in a number of different ways. And what we're seeing here is that they don't. And I know we're trying, but I just think it's worth calling out here that kind of that's sort of dropping. And if you don't feel engaged or motivated to participate, I don't know how we expect our kids to learn. And so I know there's a desire to sort of rightfully so focus in on the academics piece, but that piece for me comes first. If a student doesn't feel supported and safe at a school, that part, the second part's never going to come. So this is more of a comment, and I wanted to call it out because the notable changes and actions I think are geared towards trying to solve this challenge. I'm not saying that they're not, but I think it's just important to publicly point out that those numbers are very low, right? When 20% of our students responding to a survey, first of all, they're the ones responding to a survey, which means they're already the more engaged ones, right? But they say that, they don't, there's that only 20% agree or strongly agree with being motivated or engaged at school. I find that surprising and a notable number that tells me that there's still a lot of work to do there. The other piece I wanted to note is just on the attendance piece. So that's 22 out of 106. Now, of all the numbers here, right, the outcome dropped 3 percentage points, which, out of 100 is not too bad. But I just note that we're kind of getting further away from our baseline and still further away from our overall attendance and goals of 95%. And if they're not at school, they can't learn. And so that's just the one piece that I didn't see any kind of notable changes to actions about. I know that that's a big puzzle to solve for, but if our kids can't get to school or aren't at school, and if they don't feel safe at school, then the academics aren't going to follow. So I just wanted to call out those two pieces. And then I will invite feedback and comments on the second piece, which is a lot of the notable changes to actions are investing in people, which is 100% where I think we should be going. What happens if we don't find those people? I think that's like $1 million question. And if someone had the answer, a lot of our problems would be solved. But investing more is fantastic. But what if they don't show up? What if we can't find them? I don't know what our plan B is. Again, I think it's just important to acknowledge, though, that it's the reality that we're dealing with. Budget all we want, but if the folks don't show up, then we're not going to see the improvements that we're hoping to come out of that. I invite you to respond if you want, but by all means, I know you don't have the answer to that big problem. But those are some of the things that I thought were worth highlighting and commenting on in this very large undertaking of a document.
Thank you. In addition to increasing funding for staffing members, there's an additional part of the work that we're doing around creating partnerships, for example, with our older community to find aspiring teachers who want to join our community. Our equity department is also doing a wonderful job of engaging our current community partners who are folks who are already working with our students in our community who know San Juan, and we're supporting them as well and trying to find pathways to become employees of San Juan as well. So in addition to the funding that's happening towards staff, which I'll underscore what you said too, yes, the staffing is an issue. There's this other piece that's supporting that work to try to recruit additional staff members for San Juan as well. And just another point as well, one of the LCAP metrics I think you referenced around the 20% of students who are feeling safe, that this metric is a little more nuanced. This metric is around the percentage of schools in which 75% or 3/4 of the students responded positively or agree. That being said, I don't have the top percentage on my mind. But I will just point out that yes, even when we look at just the students as a whole, the number isn't where we would like it to be, and we definitely need to be investing in that. But I just wanted to point that out as just a subtle difference, that this is the percentage of schools where 75% or more responded agree or strongly agree, not the percentage of total students in the district who responded agree or strongly agree.
I appreciate that, and that unit does matter. So I thank you for that clarification. And even so, just seeing the big drop from 52 to 20% of kind of measuring the same unit is a big jump. But thank you for the clarification.
I just want to add in too, because there's another piece to this puzzle, and Trustee Avey did allude to, he talked about the gap between the LCAP and the SPSA. And our schools analyze this data on a local level, and they're the ones digging in to see where are those gaps and disparities in terms of how students are reporting related to their connectedness versus parents versus students. And it really tracks onto our core belief around those that are closest to the work, are most knowledgeable about the problem, and also most knowledgeable about the solutions that we can deploy to support students. So our schools have been digging into this data, both the climate data as well as their academic data and their attendance data, to build their SPSAs for next year, which we will see in August, but that it will be a reflection of what we see in the LCAP, and it'll look very much so more granular, like at the site level. So that's one piece. Another piece is, some of the items that we do as a part of a district don't always make it into the LCAP. One of them is an attendance improvement plan. So that is an area of focus for us going into next year. And I'm looking at Dominic Cavello out in the audience, and I know he's got some things to say about it, but we'll just keep you out there for now. But that is an area of focus because as we continue to recover in terms of the impact of the pandemic, and we continue to navigate folks needing to stay at home when they are sick, it is still negatively impacting attendance. And there's also patterns of behavior that evolved over time for some of our students too, that we're also following up and working on that piece. So as chronic absenteeism, we do see some movement in a positive direction around that. There's still much more work to do as attendance as a whole for us to fully recover back to our state pre-pandemic.
Did you have additional thoughts and comments, Ms. Vasquez?
Since you kind of invited me to do that, thank you, Superintendent Bassanelli. And it actually jogged my memory of one other thing in terms of the reminder that this is one piece, right? Your reminder, especially on the attendance piece of that. If I also just want to note, I know we have tobacco use and prevention education funding, which is sort of separate and outside of this. And I think Mr. Cavello could also speak to that, but it was something that came to mind when you were talking about the substance use component, Ms. Krupchak. So I did mean to include that and wrap that in somehow in my long soliloquy there, but thank you for the reminder, and I'm done now.
Mr. Hernandez.
I just want to comment, not necessarily about the items in the report. I just want to, I guess commend us as a district on where we came, how far we've come when we started the LCAP 7-8 years ago. Is that right, Pam? I don't even know how many years ago. And the state didn't give us any what to do. We did it on our own. And I will match our LCAP plan to any district in the state. And so where we've come, and we know that it's a plan that's constantly moving, and we are moving with students in mind. And yes, it's very hard, but yet it's a metric for us to learn from and change every year, which we do. So I just want to commend where we started and where we are is monumental. So thank you.
Any other comments, questions? Okay, well, thank you so much. And this item will come back for action on June 27th.
Thank you.
Thank you. We are at item I2, Choices Charter School Local Control and Accountability Plan. Mr. Ginter.
Good evening, President Creason, members of the board, Superintendent Bassanelli, and Ms. Cunningham. We're here this evening because the superintendent is recommending that the board here have a public hearing regarding revisions to the San Juan Choices Charter School 2021 through 2024 LCAP. Much like you heard just for the district and Mr. Tornatori's report, we have a report for you for Choices Charter School, which is a dependent charter of our district that has about approximately a little more than 250 students. I'm going to turn things over to Mr. Brent Givens, the director of Choices Charter School, to go through their LCAP for you.
Good evening, President Creason, members of the board, Superintendent Bassanelli, and Ms. Cunningham. My name is Brent Givens, and I'm the director of San Juan Choices Charter School. I'm happy to be here tonight presenting the Choices Charter School LCAP 2023-24 annual update. In order to support positive student outcomes that align with state and local priorities, Choices is committed to collaborating with our educational partners. Feedback from our school stakeholders happens in a variety of ways and throughout the school year. Our formal events are listed here, but we are working to ensure our students have a stronger voice by creating a student leadership group next year, which will meet every month with our school leadership team. The LCAP highlights 4 main areas of success this year, which are listed here. They include graduation rates of all students and socioeconomically disadvantaged students, which showed continued growth in 2020, 2021, and 2022. Our academic proficiency and CAF scores showed that most rates of proficiency dropped between 2021 and 22 for both choices and the state of California. However, in most cases, choices students and all student groups have outperformed state averages in both years. Our college and career readiness and graduate statistics have been growing steadily, and our focus has been on increasing our enrollment in A through G courses, dual enrollment at community colleges, a career technical education pathway in business and finance, and 2 world language tracks that lead to biliteracy. As a result, more choices students are considered prepared for college and career each year. And last, we know that Choices is a school that can help students who are challenged with all types of anxiety. Our survey data shows that the vast majority of students who enroll with us stabilize or improve in Choices' safe, caring, and flexible program. Moving on to identified needs in our LCAP, we highlighted the 2 main areas for improvement. The first area is focused on math proficiency, which lags behind the state, and we'll be targeting specific deficiencies to ensure our students catch up and are on track with grade level standards. The second area is a continuing focus on our college career indicator, which also lags behind the state. We're making progress, but we're still building capacity with expanded college career course offerings and support. Our LCAP includes 2 goals. Goal number 1, focused on closing achievement gaps and ensuring all students graduate college and career ready. Goal number 2 is about social and emotional well-being of our students and our school culture. The action items listed here support our 2 goal areas and were developed with our educational partners. They include expanded and focused tutoring programs, additional college and career resources and course options, community enhancements that celebrate student success and expose students to hands-on activities and real-life learning, technology resources that are integral to our online curriculum and student learning, continuing a variety of supports which include professional development for teachers, student interventions, and parent education, addressing the needs of students with anxiety by providing additional supports and tracking progress through surveys, and creating strong partnerships with our counseling and mental health supports within the San Juan Unified School District and community agencies. This list spotlights the notable changes to our action items in the 23-24 LCAP and includes developing a more robust tutoring program to support student learning, expanding our college and career week, offering more field trips and college visits, facilitating parent access to online curriculum to support their students, and expanding our student recognition and rewards programs. The 23-24 budget overview provides a snapshot of our expected funding and shows a total budget of approximately $3.5 million, of which approximately $3.1 million is LCFF. Of the approximate $3.1 million in LCFF funds, just over $295,000 is generated based on the enrollment of our high-needs students. This 23-24 budget overview provides a quick summary of how much Choices plans to spend in the 23-24 school year. It also shows that just over $520,000 is tied directly to our LCAP action items and services. Thank you very much, and that concludes my report.
Thank you so much. I declare the topic of the Choices Charter School Local Control and Accountability Plan a public hearing, and it is now open for public comment. There being no comments, I declare the public hearing closed. Questions, comments from the board? Mr. Hernandez, you have a hot mic.
Oops, sorry, not me.
Mr. Avey.
I just want to quickly say thank you for having me for graduation. I know it's not necessarily related to this report, but prior to that, I did have a chance to get to know Choices a little bit better, and it really is an incredible program. So thank you for this presentation. And just thanks for letting me participate yesterday. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for attending, and thank you Superintendent Bassanelli for attending as well.
Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, this item will come back for action on June 27th. Thank you.
Thank you.
We are at item I3, adoption of the 2023-2024 budget. Ms. Stahlheber.
Good evening, President Creason, board members, Superintendent Bassanelli, and Ms. Cunningham. Tonight we'll be reviewing the proposed 2023-24 adopted budget. Per Ed Code 42127, we are required to have a public hearing to present our budget, and we will return on June 27th for the proposed budget to be adopted. This is an illustration of our annual budget cycle. This includes the 2 meetings in June and reflects our September meeting where we will present our unaudited actuals and our 45-day revision. It also reflects our 2 interim budget reports where revised budget projections will be shared based on actuals through October 31st for the first interim period and January 31st for the second interim period. This is a summary of our general fund revenues. The projected revenues for 2023-24 reflect a decrease of $9,286,904 or 1.38% when compared to our 2023-24 estimated actuals. We expect an increase in our LCFF, our local control funding formula revenues, in the amount of $29,490,617 or 6.93%. On a further slide, we'll discuss more in depth the details of those funds. Our federal revenues are projected to increase by $3,973,783 or 4.26%. The increase is based on projected use of carryover funds in our Title I and II, ELO ESSER funds, our Carl Perkins, and a new refugee school impact grant. State revenues are projected to decrease by $38,190,165 or 26.81%. The decrease is largely comprised of the one-time funds related to the art, music, and instructional material block grant and the Learning Recovery Emergency Block Grant funds that were received as revenue in fiscal year 2022-23. They're included in our estimated actuals. The governors may revise has proposed some reductions of those funds. The proposed reduction for the art, music, instructional material discretionary block grant is 50%, which would translate to $11,314,185. And the proposed cut to the Learning Recovery Block Grant is 32%, which translates to $13,925,480. The legislature has proposed a state budget that would lower those reductions immensely. Those would change for the art, music, and instructional material discretionary block grant. That would be reduced, the cut, from the $11,314,185 to approximately $1,257,131. The Learning Recovery Block would be reduced from $13,925,480 cut to approximately $2,785,096 cut. So hopefully we'll see those come into the final budget. And when we bring our unaudited actuals and our 45-day revise, the actual state, whatever's adopted in June will be reflected there, or most likely July. Local revenues are largely comprised of local grants, donations, and interest earnings. And so you can see we do project a decrease, and that is because those funds have a lot of fluctuation from year to year. So we do not budget the full amount at adopted, rather we budget a portion and then revise our estimates at our first and second interims based on actuals received. This slide, the original that you had in your packet had some errors in it. When I updated all of the numbers, it did not revise the percentages. So I apologize, but this slide here does have the corrected amounts. It illustrates a breakdown of our revenues by funding source. And you can see that the largest portion of our revenues are generated through the local control funding formula. And these funds are comprised of property taxes, state aid, and Education Protection Act funds. There's also a small portion listed in here, approximately 2.3 million, that we receive as restricted LCFF funds through our single district SELPA, and it's just part of the state SELPA formula. The state and federal categories are higher this past year as we've spent and received some one-time funds. So some of those COVID dollars and then those additional one-time dollars we just discussed. This slide illustrates the breakdown of the funds received through our LCFF calculation. These funds are based on average daily attendance reported as of the P2 reporting period. We had an 8.22 COLA that was proposed and the governors may revise and is being supported by both the Senate and the Assembly and is in their proposed legislative budget. So we do expect to see that in the final budget. The current funding does not include, though, an estimated 6.9 million that is related to the ADA mitigation certification. We certified it P2 rather than P1, so it was not included in the calculator, but the certification will come through at the end of June. And so when we bring back our unaudited actuals and our 45-day revise, you will see revenue in LCFF category increase by 6.9. That would be in the 22-23 year, 23-24, and in the ongoing funding in LCFF. Our add-on funds in the amount of $9,916,943 are comprised of $2,350,261 of targeted instructional improvement funds. Those were some of the categoricals that were subsumed in LCFF. These were pulled out and added on. They have not received any COLAs, and this particular funding stream does not expect to receive any COLAs in the near future. It also includes $5,660,751 in transportation funds. Those will be receiving the first COLA since LCFF came into fruition in the 23-24 budget. It also includes our TK add-on, which is projected for 23-24 in the amount of $1,905,931. The supplemental concentration funds reflect a total $51,253,947. This is the first year we have qualified for concentration funds since we qualified for $533,264 in the 2019-20 fiscal year. Our 23-24 LCFF projections include $6,260,413 in concentration funds, which is huge for our LCAP and being able to meet the needs of our students that are targeted. In our future budgets, we will see if our percentage of our unduplicated pupils stays flat. And if it increases, we would receive more. But right now we're projecting if it stays flat, we would see $11,204,517 in the concentration funds. And like supplemental, these funds are intended to be used to increase and or improve services for our targeted populations, such as students that qualify for free and reduced meals, English language learners, and homeless and foster youth. Our projected expenditures for 2023-24 increased by $37,582,938 or 6.09%. Our certificated salaries are projected to increase 6.41% or $15,528,173. The increase is based upon step and column, which we estimate at 0.9%, and an ongoing salary increase of 4.5%. Which is made up of a 1% increase to salaries and the equivalent of a 3.5% in stipends. We also have budgeted for open unfilled positions and adjustments to overtime and sub costs. Our classified salaries increased by $11,622,551 or 12.29%. The increase is based on step and column, also estimated at the 0.9%, and an ongoing salary increase of 4.5%, and also budgets unfilled open positions, extra time and sub costs. We have a lot of open positions in our special ed program, transportation, food services, and a lot of those are classified employees. And so that's why you see such a huge increase when we're projecting out in this category. Our benefits increased by $19,682,873 or 11.05%. Again, this is based on the increase of step and column and ongoing salary increase. We also will experience a 1.31% increase in the PERS employer rate. And we anticipate our health and welfare to increase, and we used a historical average of 2.98%. When we have those final numbers, we will update and revise them in our 45-day revision. And it also includes the related costs for those open unfilled positions, extra time and subs. Our supply category reflects a decrease of $9,097,615. This is based on the removal of some one-time purchases of furniture, computers, Chromebooks, and small equipment. Restricted programs reduce their supply budgets to cover the increase related to program salary and benefits. So you'll see a shift there as well. Services and other operating expenses is projected to decrease $12,959,185 or 23.03%. This is largely attributed to the shift of funds for budgeted open positions. And as we move through the year and are unable to fill positions, we often have to contract for services for those items that we are required to provide. Those services we're required to provide for students. And so you'll see that shift throughout the year at the first and second interim reporting periods to our service category as we reduce the vacancies that remain open. We also saw our other outgo decrease slightly, and that was related to an adjustment for a final bus lease payment that'll be paid off. The slide reflects our breakdown of our expenditures, and this was also revised for the percentages that you see. Our salaries and benefits make up 85.83% of our total budgeted expenditures. And in our unrestricted category only, they make up 90.02% of our unrestricted expenditures. So this is a general fund summary, and it shows our projected estimated actuals and our 2023-24 projections. We currently project an increase to our fund balance for the 22-23 and the 23-24 fiscal years. Our reserve for economic uncertainties meets a required 2% of total projected expenditures in both years. And when we get to our components of the ending fund balances under the non-spendable, restricted, and committed funds, that $122,341,282 is comprised of multiple categories. Our non-spendable funds are revolving cash in the amount of $205,000 and stores in $84,931. Our restricted fund balance is projected to be $86,975,875. And the committed fund balance, which came to the board as a resolution, includes a bus replacement plan, technology device refresh and enhancements, carryover of unspent supplemental grant funds, and a textbook adoption. That comes to a total of $35,075,476. The portion that makes up our carryover of unspent supplemental will be revised with our unaudited actual when we will bring an updated resolution for committed funds. We also have an assignment in our fund balance, and this is for projected carryover of concentration grant funds of $6,280,528. That leaves us an unassigned fund balance of $58,979,664. This illustrates the remaining funds that are within our statements. And you can see all of our funds are projected to have a positive fund balance, with the exception of our county school facilities, which currently has no fund balance or activity projected in it. This also includes the budget for Choices Charter School. It includes their beginning balance of $670,900 $170,959. Their revenues of 3.5 million, expenses in 2.8 million, some other financing with a resulting surplus of $452,895. This is a look at the planning factors we used as we built our budget. Many of our assumptions are built on projections that we gleaned from School Services of California. They published a dartboard that we use. Many of their figures come from Department of Finance, LAO, and they work with some UCLA economic forecasters as well. The STRS and PERS, of course, are published by both of those entities. So this is our multi-year projection, and currently we project a very healthy fund balances and surpluses in all years. And although we're currently settled for 23-24, we did have some language that will open that piece back up because COLA is going to be funded higher than what we had projected when we settled. And so none of that is figured into these calculations. So we just want to keep that in mind as we prepare for the future and enter those negotiations. So just a preview of our 45-day revise, some of our known adjustments. Once certified P2 data comes in, we will have an increase in our LCFF revenues in current year and future budget years. If COLA were to change, that would also be updated at that time. And then we'll also have those final revised amounts of our one-time funds. And then any additional staffing changes that are known at that time will be included in that 45-day revision. So next steps, we want to see that final budget come back on the 27th to have this adopted. And I just want to take a moment to thank Christy Blanford and the rest of her fiscal team and our fiscal team in other departments. This has been a really daunting year as we had to work in two different systems. We're in the middle of implementing a new ERP. And so staff, as they were learning a new system, they were working in it and still pulling data and information out of the old system. It was a huge lift and they worked really hard and did an amazing job. Any questions?
Thank you. I declare the topic of the 2023-2024 budget a public hearing, and it is now open for public comment. There being no comments, I declare the public hearing closed. Do any board members have comments or questions? Ms. Viescas.
Thank you for the thorough presentation and for bringing this forward. I was just sitting here the whole time thinking, good job hitting the moving target of projected revenues from the state, projected revenues from finance, LAO, all over the place. And it wasn't until the end that you reminded me, there's also been a huge amount of shifts internally between the different systems, and that is a huge lift. So congratulations on getting this printed and in front of us, and congratulations to the team as well. I think this year in particular, it seems like every year there's a whole list of challenges, and it kind of grew a little bit longer this year. So well done. One question I had, and it's on slide 11, and maybe my memory doesn't serve me very well. And I apologize for not having asked this earlier, but I was surprised to see the STRS employer rate that flat and static for the next 2 years in the projections. Is that typical, or is there something else in the, I thought it moved around a little bit.
So PERS is every other year they look at it based on actuarial data and the discount rate that's established based on that data. But the STRS rate is in statute. And so it would take a statutory change to change that rate.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you. And then I hope that the CPI index numbers are right and that they don't go the opposite direction. Thank you again. And that's all for me, other than we'll continue to watch what's happening downtown. I hope the legislative budget deal pulls through. They're certainly running the clock as they usually do. So I'll both keep my fingers crossed, but also keep making calls and advocating to our local delegation. Thank you.
And we appreciate that.
Other comments, questions? Ms. Krafchick?
I echo my colleague. Thank you. Systems changes are so difficult, and I just commend you for the work that you're doing and just dealing with it all. Thank you. I have one question. Can you remind me with the ADA certification, what the difference is between the P1 and P2 category?
So P1 is the first opportunity we have to submit attendance data. And this year, we had an opportunity to certify that we had had our independent study program in place during COVID by the required deadline. We had a change in staff, and the director that was responsible for that left to go to another district. I took over that responsibility in her absence, but because I wasn't signed up for the listserv, I missed the emails that the certification was during P1. So I certified at P2, which means the data wasn't certified at the time they produced the new calculator. I did reach out immediately to FCMAT and CDE, and they're like, your data will be certified. It'll be in there at the end of June, but P2 isn't certified until June. So that's the difference. And P2 is our final number that they use for funding.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for settling that. Thanks.
Other comments, questions? Seeing none. This item will come back for action on June 27th. Thank you so much. We are at item I4, temporary interfund borrowing of cash. Ms. Stallheber.
Yes, the superintendent is recommending that the board hold a public hearing, review, and adopt resolution number 4082 to permit temporary interfund borrowing of cash.
I declare the topic of temporary interfund borrowing of cash a public hearing, and it is now open for public comment. There being no comments, I declare the public hearing closed. Do any board members have comments or questions? Seeing none, this is an action item. Is there a motion to adopt resolution 4082?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Avey. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Viescaz. All those in favor say aye. Aye, that was unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you. We are at item I5, early literacy support block grant. Ms. Kukrow.
Good evening, President Creason, members of the board, Superintendent Bassonelli, and Ms. Cunningham. Tonight, the superintendent is recommending that the board hear an update on the early literacy support block grant for Dyer Kelly Elementary School and approve the annual report. This is the third time the board has heard an update about this grant per the grant statutory requirements. With me tonight are Jamal Hicks, principal of Dyer Kelly, Roxanne Stellmacher, vice principal of Dyer Kelly, and Heather Brandt, program specialist for English language arts. I'm excited to introduce the amazing work of this grant team who has worked tirelessly to support the literacy needs of their earliest learners. To begin, I would like to introduce Jamal, and this is an action item.
Thank you, Nicole, for that eloquent introduction. I appreciate the opportunity to address you tonight regarding the progress made at Dyer Kelly Elementary School since being awarded the Early Literacy Support Block Grant. It is with great pride and enthusiasm that I stand before you representing our school community to share the transformative impact this grant has had on our educational journey. Our vision for Dyer Kelly is to emphasize the belief that education is the catalyst for eradicating generational poverty. This grant is making this vision a reality. The Early Literacy Support Block Grant has bestowed upon 75 elementary schools in California, including our own Dyer Kelly, an extraordinary opportunity to collectively receive $50 million in state grants. These funds are specifically designed to enhance literacy instruction, ensuring that our students are equipped with the essential skills they need to thrive academically and personally. Our dedicated staff, who have demonstrated unwavering commitment over the years, are champions of equity and advocates for educational excellence. They tirelessly strive to provide equitable access to education for all our students, ensuring that they receive the same opportunities as their peers in more affluent schools. Through the utilization of the Early Literacy Support Block Grant, we have been able to strengthen our resolve in this mission and forge ahead in creating a learning environment where every child can flourish. The ELSB grant covers a total of 4 years. The first year of the grant occurred in 2021 and was a planning year. During the planning year, a literacy action team was formed, and the team conducted a needs assessment and root cause analysis. The following year, in 21-22, action steps began in implementation year 1. These action steps continued in 22-23 during implementation year 2. The literacy action team has continued to meet and drive the next steps for the literacy at Dyer Kelly. Implementation year 3 will take place in 23-24 and will be the final year of the grant. During the planning year, the Literacy Action Team determined a need in the 4 areas of focus listed on this slide. Action steps related to these needs were designed to take place over the 3 implementation years in the areas of coaching, learning, supplemental curriculum, and scheduling. Roxanne will now share more about the specific actions taken over the last 2 years and our next steps for the final year of the grant.
Thank you very much, Jamal. As Jamal mentioned, there were 4 focus areas that the grant really kind of dived into to make sure that we were taking our literacy journey from a comprehensive approach. The first one was our focus area on the literacy coach piece. During our first year, we contracted with the Consortium on Reading Excellence for literacy coaching, and the coach helped support our work with LETRS professional development for literacy instruction in kindergarten through 3rd grade. The coach also helped us identify a systematic, oh, thank you. You got that? Fantastic. A systematic phonics program for core and intervention instruction, and identified the needs for an increase in ELA and intervention minutes across the K-3 spectrum. In our second year, the Literacy Action Team reviewed the specific role of the core literacy coach, and we determined that there was a need to fill the role internally in order to build internal site capacity. We also hired a site coach from our current teaching staff and are in the process of hiring 3 additional instructional assistants to support the work in the classroom. As we go into our 3rd year, our K-3 site coach will support universal access time, which is a 30-minute site intervention block based on student need and classroom instruction. They will also provide ongoing professional development for teachers and IAs specific to literacy instruction, and they'll refine and expand our Tier 3 support intervention services. Our second area of focus was our LETRS learning. During our first year, our district teachers on special assignment, also known as TOSAs, facilitated LETRS training across our kindergarten through 3rd grade levels. LETRS stands for Language Essentials for Teachers of Reading and Spelling, and is an approach to professional learning for teachers about the skills needed to master fundamentals of reading instruction. This year, we continued teacher enrichment and professional training through LETRS with our district TOSAs, and we onboarded new teachers with our LETRS training. As we go into our 3rd year, we'll conclude our LETRS training, and we'll continue to train new teachers as we onboard them in our LETRS approach. Our 3rd area of focus was our supplemental curriculum. During our first year, teachers identified the need for a systematic phonics instruction, including screeners. And we selected the 95% core phonics program and the phonics lesson libraries to support systematic phonics instruction in K-3. This year, we purchased and received beginning of the year training for the 95% group curriculum and the phonics lesson library intervention materials. We administered our 95% assessments for all students in K-3, and we used that assessment data to identify classroom instruction and intervention needs for our universal access time, which is done on a 6 to 8 week cycle continuously throughout the year. The Literacy Action Team and the teaching staff then uses that end of cycle and end of year student data to assess the effectiveness of the supplemental curriculum. And as we go into our 3rd and final year, we will continue the use of that 95% lessons phonics library during our universal access time. And we're going to support our site-wide implementation of a core curriculum in grades K through 3. Our final and 4th area of focus was scheduling. During our first year, we created a master schedule to ensure that the literacy blocks and intervention blocks incorporated at least 50 minutes of continuous ELA instruction, and that we added a 30-minute intervention block, also known as universal access time, so that all of our students are receiving systematic phonics instruction at their ability levels in small groups 5 times a week. This year, our kindergarten through 3rd grade teachers utilized the ELA literacy blocks and our universal access time blocks to implement that systematic phonics instruction. And we developed a Tier 3 system for phonics and literacy support for students who were not making adequate progress during that universal access time. And as we look into next year, we're going to continue that commitment to universal access time, continue a commitment to 50+ minutes of ELA instruction, and continue to expand our Tier 3 services so that we can provide those for more students. As you can see from our data, the results have led to an incredible growth during this school year. Worthy of note have been our increases in students at or above grade level in all grades and our decreased numbers of students who are 2 or more years behind in grade level. This baseline data will also give us an even better picture of the impact of our work as we look into next year's testing administration. And while the data is impressive, the impact of the grant on students' learning has been transformative. I'd like to invite Jamal back up to talk about that impact.
Thank you, Ms. Stellmacher. This grant has truly provided Dyer Kelly with the means to empower each child with the tools necessary to cultivate their love for learning and literacy. I am pleased to present a short video that showcases the tremendous impact that the ELSB grant has had on Dyer Kelly Elementary School. This video captures the enthusiasm and the desire of our students to enhance their literacy skills and the positive outcomes that have resulted from the grant. At Dyer Kelly, we believe that every student who walks through our doors is not just a statistic. They're more than a statistic. They possess dreams, aspirations, and an innate desire to live a meaningful life.
The Early Literacy Support Block Grant, also known as ELSB, is a $600,000 grant awarded to Dyer Kelly for an implementation program over 3 years to improve literacy outcomes for kindergartners through 3rd grade. The idea around the ELSB grant is that by investing funds directly into systematic instruction, we can actually change trajectory for students so that they grasp literacy concepts and teachers have the skills necessary to implement them consistently in their practice every day.
So students every 6 to 8 weeks are assessed. We assess their phonics skills and place them in small groups of under 12 students usually. The dedicated teacher is able to focus on the skills that they need so that then the next time we assess them, hopefully they've progressed and we can move them on and see what the next skill is that they need to help them with their reading comprehension and understanding of text.
When I'm in Miss Z's group, she helps me like read and sound out words. So when I get home, my 20-minute reading, I already know how to read all my books. I wasn't like very good like in the words and I wasn't like pretty sure and I couldn't like, but now like the practice and like all those things I could like read books and all those stuff and I could do better. Sometimes I had a hard thing reading, but now it's just gone easier in 2nd grade. Sometimes I can read at school, at Reach, and at home, and at my friend's house or something.
In my classroom, it's so exciting because we now have manipulatives, we now have decodables, we have resources that we didn't have before, and our students are able to access phonics now.
The books that I read in Reach or in my classroom, I learn like a lot. Like if I learn a new word, how to say it, I go to my house and then I go to my secret library and I get one of the books. I see that word over there that I saw in my class and then I can pronounce it well.
I can see their enjoyment. They are proud of themselves now that they can read these words. They all want to share. When we do a group read together, everybody's raising their hand. Everybody wants to be a part of it.
As we approach the final year of the Early Literacy Support Block Grant, we are proud of the progress we have made in advancing early literacy instruction. By expanding our approach to include common assessments beyond phonics, hiring internally for the literacy coach position, developing our instructional assistants, and providing ongoing professional development, we are confident that we will build the capacity needed to sustain and enhance our early literacy initiatives. Thank you for your continued support in our mission to promote literacy and empower our students. As a reminder, this is an action item and we are requesting approval of the annual report found in the board packet as an attachment so that we can proceed with our literacy action plan as described. President Creason, I would like to invite my team up to answer any questions that the board may have of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Any comments, questions from the board? Mr. Hernandez.
Mr. Hicks, thank you for that beautiful report. If I were you, I would have started with the video and it would have been done, so.
Really, thank you.
But I appreciate the report and the outstanding work that you guys are doing at Dyer Kelly. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. And I just really want to just thank the board, and I want to just thank my director over here, Ms. Amberly. I know she's saying don't direct me, but I wouldn't be here doing this without the support that I got from the district. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Ms. Kripcheck.
Thank you for the report. I'd just like to say that I love that you're using letters.
Yeah, I've heard it before. I was thinking this.
And I do have a question. What is universal access time? You alluded to it slightly, but I don't think I grasped it.
Well, it's just a time during which each student is actually given curriculum at their grade level, at the level in which they can receive it. So universal access time. So if I'm a fourth grader and I'm maybe at a second grade level, I'm actually given instruction at that level.
I see.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
It's been incredible at Dyer Kelly. It really has.
Thank you for your work.
Other comments, questions? Okay, I get to go. It's so good to see all of you. I love seeing my friends in the boardroom to hear about this incredible work.
Yes.
And I had the opportunity to visit Dyer Kelly very recently. I would say in the last 3, maybe 4 weeks, probably 3. Everything turned into a blur. It's the end of the year, right? And so I got to see a lot of this magic in real time and just reconnect with the school community and walk around with you and with Roxanne and just to watch the life and the learning happen. And it was such a special, special day. So I'm so happy that so closely to that visit, you're able to do this report. And so everyone can get a glimpse, but I hope, for board members that may have not visited Dyer Kelly yet, you gotta go and just watch the magic happen. So of course, I'm more than happy to support your continued work. And I appreciate all that you and your teams do, because I know it's a whole lot to keep the learning going. So thank you.
You will. Definitely.
So that said, this is an action item. Is there a motion to approve the Early Literacy Support Block Grant Annual Report?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Casa. Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Krivchuk? It has, sorry. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That was unanimous. Thank you again.
Thank you very much.
We are at item I6, Special Education Community Advisory Committee bylaws. Mr. Allen.
Good evening, President Creason, members of the board, Superintendent Bassanelli. We are back tonight with the Special Education Community Advisory Committee bylaws. What you have before you in red are any of the changes that were made since the last time you reviewed these bylaws at your last meeting. Most of those changes are clarifications that the committee asked for themselves. So much of that is, again, just clarifying language for pieces. I did want to highlight for you that we did really add some clarifying language about what happens with our existing members. That was one of the big concerns that our committee members had. And they're a little bit special because in their existing bylaws, they don't really have terms. They're on the committee and then they kind of are on the committee. So where our other committees had terms that expired, and we have said in our previous revisions to bylaws, you can finish out your term. These folks don't necessarily have established terms. So what we've said in these bylaws is you will be assigned to a term. You'll be allowed to finish out that term without any harm coming to you. And then after that, it would be subject to reappointment by a board member or the superintendent per the new bylaws. So with that, I'd be happy to take any questions you may have. And this is an action item tonight.
Thank you. Comments, questions from the board? Seeing none, is there a motion to, I'm sorry, Mr. Avey, I apologize.
It's bylaws. Of course, I'll have comments. No, I just want to say again, thank you for all your work on the bylaws. I was able to attend the last CAC meeting and I felt like there was a very respectful dialogue with the committee members and staff. And one thing that I highlighted for the committee members, where they saw this as being more restrictive because they're, term limits and appointments. And what I brought up is that these bylaws are very permissive because it is very explicitly telling them what we as a board expect from them as a committee. And specifically, it's called out here as their charge. And so I do hope that they embrace their charge. And I look forward to working with them as one of our advisory committees. So thank you for your work on this. I think it'll be immensely helpful to them.
Thank you.
I apologize again, Mr. Avey. Any other comments, questions? Making sure I miss no green dots. Okay. Is there a motion to approve the revisions to the Special Education Community Advisory Committee bylaws?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Avey, seconded by Mr. Hernandez. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you. We are at item I7, proposed revisions to board policy 5141.52, suicide prevention. Dr. Kelvin.
Good evening, President Creason, members of the board, Superintendent Bassanelli, and Ms. Cunningham. You have before you tonight a revised draft of board policy 5141.52, suicide prevention. I am joined tonight by Director of Student Support Services, Dominic Cavello, who will briefly highlight the changes in policy and address any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Deborah. So as a part of the 2022-23 federal program monitoring FPM audit, a district finding was made to update board policy, specifically suicide prevention board policy 5141.52 must now include a section for grades TK through 6th to be written at an elementary reading level. The intent is to use this approved language to incorporate into future, more accessible materials for elementary age students with messaging available at all respective school sites. Tonight's item is a discussion item, and we welcome any discussion or questions you have regarding the board policy changes.
Thank you. Any questions, comments from the board? Ms. Viescas.
Thank you for bringing this forward. Usually when we have proposed revisions to board policy, I immediately go through and look for the strike throughs to see what we're changing. And it took me about 30 seconds to figure out we're adding a whole new policy for TK through 6, and my heart immediately just dropped. And of course, it's a 100% appropriate, and I'm absolutely not saying it's necessary. It clearly is, but I just want to acknowledge kind of how difficult of a topic it is. I'm glad we're adopting the policy. I'm sorry that it's needed. I think it's an important time to just highlight that we can adopt a policy, but the sad reality is that there's really not a healthcare infrastructure or system to back this up. Like, our teachers and our staff can do everything possible that's written in the board policy. And even so, there was recently a RAND study specific to Sacramento County that highlighted the complete lack of availability, particularly for pediatric beds and for our children in distress. We would need 40 to 60 more beds to meet the needs. And even then, that is only for private pay. There are no beds for Medi-Cal kids, which is 75% of the kids in Sacramento County. So I just think it's important to highlight that we, of course, will continue and do and serve our kids as best we can, but we don't exist in a vacuum, and there's a complete lack of a mental health system to back this up. And I know many people on this dais are involved in continued advocacy for that, but it's just something to highlight. Thanks.
Mr. Avey.
So thank you, Ms. Viasquez. So for my day job, I work for WellSpace Health, and we actually answer the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline for most of Northern California, including here in Sacramento County. There's a definite need for services for folks at very, very young ages. I think those are some of the most tragic and difficult calls that our team take, but they take them quite regularly. So I'm glad to see that we're addressing it in here. And Ms. Viasquez is absolutely correct. The system to respond after that call, it's insufficient. So I think that's something that we all need to work on. One relatively minor revision within here. Last July, the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline transitioned from 1-800-273-TALK. That number still works. People can still call it, but nationally you can actually dial or text 988, and that works nationwide. And so that may be something that as a district we want to look at, and how do we promote that number? I do have a photo from some handmade posters at Del Campo High School when I was there, and it just said in marker, dial 988 for help. And I think that's a clear message that we need to send everybody, because that is a resource that's available to everybody 24/7. If our center is busy, it rolls over to somebody else. So I think that is a resource that's available that we can help.
Thank you for that. We'll make the change here.
And you can
As
go
well
and
as-
look up the technical language. I think it's the National Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. That's the technical term now. And it's 988, just like 911.
Thank you.
Any other comments, questions? Ms. Krafchick.
My colleagues have shared some of the sentiments that I feel, so I'm not going to repeat it. I will ask two questions. So on page 2, it says we can help all students, including those who, and then it has a couple of bullets. And I understand why the third bullet says have lost someone to suicide. But is there a reason why we couldn't say like death or suicide? Because we exclude people who have lost someone due to other causes. Okay, and then further down, it says that San Juan uses second step and signs of suicide to teach students. So I have a question of how do we do that? And then where can we view those curriculums?
So there's, first, there's signs of suicide is a research-based curriculum that we adopted a few years back. We had several staff members, psychologists, social workers, counselors, others within our social emotional support staff go back to Boston for a training of trainers. That group is formed basically a training group for the district. And they provide trainings to staff members, to parents, to students throughout the school year. And then they also train individual school site counselors at school sites to then provide that training to their school staff and others.
Does that go through curriculum and standards, or is that separate?
It was separate in terms of that adoption of that curriculum at the time. It's really not so much a curriculum as it is sort of the professional development that goes into what we are speaking to in terms of the training and how, and using common language around suicide with those groups. The second step curriculum is provided by our prevention office as well as others across the district for school sites who wish to use that. It's more sort of preventative SEL curriculum. And not all schools use second step, but it's available for all schools. Other schools use additional curriculum that highlight different areas of social emotional learning.
Thank you.
Other comments, questions? Seeing none, this item will come back for action on June 27th. Thank you. I'm sorry. Did you have? You want to turn on your mic, Mr. Hernandez?
I'm curious if that could be on consent.
How do others feel? Are we okay with that? Sounds good. Consent work?
Are you okay making the revision of adding death or suicide? The comment that I made earlier? Then yes.
Everybody else feel okay with that?
Yeah,
Yes.
we can make those revisions and then put it on
Absolutely.
consent. Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We are at item I8, proposed revisions to board policy 5141.33, head lice. Dr. Calvin.
Thank you. You also have before you a revised draft of, as our board president just said, board policy 5141.33 head lice. Director Cavello will once again summarize the changes of policy and answer or address any questions you may have.
Thank you again, and good evening again. The revisions to board policy 5141.33 head lice are based on current recommendations from the California Department of Public Health, the Centers for Disease Control, and the California School Nurses Organization. The proposed revisions also reflect current language from the California School Board Association, which was updated since our last board policy update of 1992. The changes really also acknowledge that head lice is not a communicable disease, is more of a hygiene-related issue. And with that, it is a discussion item and we are open for any questions.
Thank you. Questions, comments from the board? Mr. Hernandez?
can move
I
the
knew you
item.
didn't really want to make a comment, but I had to call you out because it was funny. Seeing them, this item will come back for action on June 27th.
Consent.
That's what I
Consent,
wanted to
everybody?
say.
He did have something to say. Is that okay with everybody? All right, back on consent.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. We are at item J, board reports. Are there any board reports? Ms. Viescas?
Want to just acknowledge that we just wrapped up graduation season, which is a favorite part of the year. I loved every ceremony that I was privileged to be a part of and want to congratulate the class of 2023. I also just wanted to report out that on Sunday, I participated in the Pride Parade with a good 40 team members from San Juan. There was a wonderful representation of staff, parents, students, and it was just a wonderful day. The weather was perfect. The sentiment and the feelings throughout downtown were perfect. So thanks to all who showed up. It was a really wonderful celebration.
Other reports from the board? Make sure I don't miss anybody. Okay. We are at item K, future agenda. Do any board members want to add any items to a future agenda? Mr. Avey?
So I'm gonna take a mulligan on our last meeting because I think I don't know if I followed the process properly. I have learned that board members do not have the authority to call a community meeting at a school site after hours. I would like to request a staff report on the process for board members to have community meetings at school sites after hours. And so I would like to ask if there is consensus among my colleagues to have that item returned to the board.
Thank you, Mr. Avey. How do other board members feel? We could just head nods if in agreement. Looks like we have two. Mr. Hernandez.
I have no problem with that. When we want to do community when we're talking to our constituents and our community members about the district. My only concern is if that meeting, we bring in other people that have other motives. And that's where I think it crosses the line from a school board community meeting to a possible political meeting. And I would only say that as long as we keep it within our district agendas, I have no problem with that.
And I think that'd be the discussion potentially at the meeting where we could discuss what.
Okay, so as of now, I see two members would like to bring this onto an agenda. Are there others? So it looks like there is not a majority of the board that wants to put this on the agenda, but I will discuss it further with the superintendent.
Thank you.
Any other future agenda items? Ms. Krupchak?
Okay. Bear with me, I'm processing based on something that happened today, and I asked Ms. Vasquez if we had a process for which we hear public comment for the disabled community. I know that we allot 2 additional hours for people who require translation, but I'm not sure if we have something in board policy that allots additional time if someone has a developmental need for that. So I would like to explore what our options are there.
So are you asking for an answer to the question or an agenda item? for
No,
answering
an
the question?
agenda item to talk about it.
Okay.
Or maybe I'm not. Melissa, help me out here.
How about I do this? How about I explore what is policy say? I don't think currently we have a policy around that, but let me explore the practice on that. And then I can circle back with the board in a communication.
Okay.
And if it's something that we need to bring forward for consideration in terms of our practice, I can follow up on that piece. So how about I'll work on the back end on that.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other items? Okay, we do not need to return to closed session, so we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.